Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another segment of It's Getting Real. Today, we will be talking about a beautiful little girl by the name of Maddox Lawrence. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we begin. I want to apologize in advance if I do any coughing. I do not know if it's my allergies or if I'm getting sick. And because it's starting up now, I wanted to hurry up and get this out there in case it gets worse, because I'm trying to give you all crime content in a more consistent basis. I'm trying to do this at least once every other week. So forgive me if I don't have a significant amount of information, because I had to cut this short to make sure I filmed this while I wasn't having too much of a coughing spell. All right, let's get started. So Maddox Lawrence was a beautiful little girl. She was a little fighter that beat odds that were stacked against her at a very young age. So to see this beautiful baby that you see on my thumbnail and know that she is no longer here because of this terrible monster is heartbreaking to me. Let's be clear. This baby was not on this earth long, but she had a major impact. Maddox Mary Lawrence was born on April the 24th, 2014, to her mother, Morgan Lawrence, and her father, Ryan Lawrence. Now, they met while working at the mall. They start dating, they fall for each other quickly. Morgan gets pregnant, and then she and Ryan, in their young 20s, decide to do what they feel is best, and they get married. Now, many may look at them and feel like their situation isn't ideal, because here you have Morgan, who is working two jobs, and she's pregnant, and she has this guy that is also working, and they're sharing a vehicle, and it's a strain on them, but they make it work. She's working her two jobs. Money is tight. They rent this small home. And despite all of these things, they are happy, and they become even happier when Maddox is born. So Maddox is described as this happy, beautiful baby full of energy. It was said that she would giggle in a way that would make anyone around her smile. She brought light and she brought joy for the short time that she was here. She was a beautiful little girl with chunky cheeks and beautiful brown eyes, and she was a great baby that didn't cause any problems. So everything seems normal. Everything is going well, and that is until Maddox's first birthday. Her parents start to notice that her beautiful brown eyes are becoming darker than before, to the point where they almost look like they're black instead of brown. So they, out of concern, do what parents would do, and they go and get their child's eyes checked. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I've never heard of this happening. And I know there's instances, like I have a cousin that was born with gray eyes, and now they're like a hazel color. So after she turned one, they turned to like hazel. And since then, they've been that color. But there are times where you see like green tints and other hues in it based on the season and the sunlight and things of that nature. So when I'm hearing this, I'm like, okay, well, her eyes just look a little bit darker. Okay, is that really a big deal? Well, it turns out it is a big deal, you guys, because she's quickly diagnosed with a rare form of eye cancer called retinoblastoma. So treatment is required, and that treatment means that the parents have to drive their daughter back and forth to this cancer center in New York, where she is given chemotherapy treatments directly to the tumor in her eyes. Now, the treatments are frequent and at times last as long as 6 hours at a time. So months go by, and the parents are transporting their daughter back and forth to the treatment center to make sure that their baby is getting the treatment that she needs so that she can fight this. As expected, because when you're dealing with situations like this, there's a lot of times where you just can't go into work. And I can only imagine those side effects that that baby faced in going through treatment, given that I've seen some of what happens to adults. So I can only imagine how frail her young body was. So the parents are having to take a lot of time off of work because they're transporting her to and from, and they only have one vehicle. And you want to make sure that you're showing up for your child and you're supportive to them and that they have you to lean on because, of course, that baby was probably in a lot of pain. So, them going back and forth and them missing work becomes a major financial issue for the couple. At this point, Maddox is fighting for her life, and her parents are fighting to make sure that they can keep a roof over their heads as well as their child. So, funds are limited. And to get a little bit of financial security, they decide that what they're going to do is they're going to create a GoFundMe. They create a GoFundMe and they raise $9,000. They're updating the community about how well Maddox is doing and how well she's progressing. And they're giving pictures here and there where Maddox is seen as a beautiful, happy baby. But beneath the smiles and the positive chemo updates, something else is going on. Now, police believe that Ryan is becoming unhappy with not just the financial strain, not all the medical expenses, but the fact that so much attention is being poured into his daughter. They think that he was jealous about the attention that Maddox was receiving during her battle of cancer, and that he wasn't getting recognition for taking care of her. Now, I don't know how true it is. He, of course, denies it, but no part of what happens following this makes sense to me. So I don't think I'm going to believe the words of any monsters when it comes to what was or wasn't the case. All right. So not only are medical bills piling up, but other bills are piling up. And Ryan feels hopeless about his job and his financial situation. And he feels like it's causing a strain on his marriage. His marriage starts to have problems as well. He feels like it's crumbling because of the stress. So what does he do? Does he look for another job? Does he seek additional assistance? No, he doesn't do any of that. Instead, he does something else. A few days before the death of Maddox, Ryan carries his pathetic tale and he buys a bunch of things that later helped him conceal his identity. He purchased wigs and makeup and a bandana and spray paint and other outdoor supplies. He also bought things like manuals on how to avoid capture. So he scopes out various areas to see where he can commit his crime. He finds a place, he builds a fire pit. Then on February 20th, 2016, Ryan does the unthinkable. He drops off his wife, Morgan, at a retail job and has Maddox in the back seat. Morgan does not know at the time that this will be the last time she is able to see her baby. Ryan then takes their child, their daughter, this precious baby, 21 minutes away to this isolated location that he previously scoped out. He then pulls out a wooden baseball bat and proceeds to beat his child in her head with the bat. She's not even 2, you guys. She's not even 2. He then burns as much of her body as he can. He gathers the charred remains and he drives back to this creek. There, he ties what's left of her remains to heavy cinder blocks and disposes them in the water. This is his child. I can't understand sickos like this I can't understand how this man would think that that is right. I can't understand how he would have premeditated murder like this when it comes to anyone, let alone his child. So after he beats this baby and after he sinks her remains, this monster, this person that should have loved her, drops off the car, because as I said, they're sharing one car, to Morgan's job and leaves her a message, and he flees on foot. In the message, he claims that he wanted his daughter to live a better life. He wanted his wife to live a better life without him, and he took Maddox. That makes it sound like he kidnapped her. That makes it sound like, oh, you're having such a rough time, let me give you a break. It doesn't make it sound like he did what he did, which is that he unalived that baby. So Morgan gets off work, finds the message, and she panics. And she calls police and lets them know that her daughter has been kidnapped. An Amber Alert is issued. Morgan ends up making a public appeal, begging her husband to please return Maddox safely. But at this point, the baby is already gone. A thrift store employee saw this broadcast, sees a man that resembles Ryan, calls the police. The police come. Now, Ryan tried to disguise his identity by wearing one of those wigs he purchased, but it didn't work. So authorities corner him not too far away from the store, and they ask him who he is. Now, he gives them a different name and a different birthday, but the dodo couldn't spell the name right or get the birthday right, so they decide to take him in. Eventually, he admits that he lied, and his name is Ryan Lawrence. The authorities ask him, where's Maddox? And he says, she's in a better place. There is something about that statement that is so chilling to me, because how can someone torture a child in the manner that he did and then make a statement as the father of this child that she is in a better place? Like you torturing her puts her in a better place. How about we put Ryan in a better place? And I know it sounds wrong, but there's something that lights in me and ignites in me when it comes to these people who harm babies. Harming anyone is wrong. I cannot understand why people do this to kids. They're innocent. And if you can't handle it, there are so many other things in place now that help prevent situations like these. And the crazy thing is, her mom wanted her. Her mother loved her. And this man is acting like he did somebody a favor by taking her. We'll get to it. So investigators spend hours building a rapport and trust with this monster Ryan. And after 36 hours after the initial Amber Alert is issued on February 23rd, 2016, they find 21-month-old Maddox. He agrees to guide them to the creek where he disposed of her body. He brings police to this wooded area where he unalived his child. He leads them to the Onondaga Creek where he dumped her body. Later that day, a state police diver finds parts in the creek. He is then charged with first-degree murder. His defense attorney makes all types of excuses for his behavior, saying that Ryan lost his mom and he was so stressed out and dealing with the mental illness and the constant different stressors didn't make it any easier. I'm not going to dive into his background because I do not care. And I'm tired of officials making excuses for these people who are monsters. Let's call it what it is. It's cruelty. So him grieving his mother doesn't work for me. There's a whole bunch of people who are grieving who don't do things like this. Now, he claimed that a whole bunch of problems formed into a psychotic break where he planned to murder his child and then take his own life. So if you plan to take your own life, why are you still here? I am so tired of these people who kill children and wives and other family members and other people and say, oh, I was going to unalive them and then I was going to unalive myself, and then they're still here. How about you do us all a favor and take matters into your own hands and handle yourself? And here's the thing. I don't feel like anybody should kill anyone. Let me be clear about that. I know I'm talking out the side of my neck a little bit here, but I just feel like he's a coward. If you want to leave this earth, do whatever you want with yourself, but stop putting other people's lives into your hands, is what I'm saying. He later explained that he included his daughter in his plan to kill not just her, but himself, because he didn't want her living without a father. Make it make sense. Ryan is given a chance to make the statement that he wants to make in front of the court, and he says, although I blame no one else for my act, as the pressure to give her the perfect life built up, I also struggled against negative waves of emotions, bearing witness to the pain and sadness of many of my wife's and daughter's interactions. Doesn't make sense to me. Who gave you that? Who told you to write that? His brother, who was estranged from him at the time, is like, welcome to the real world where everybody struggles. But just because you're struggling doesn't mean you turn to this. There were so many other options, and there were. He is given a plea deal that has him sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for him pleading guilty to first-degree murder. Maddox's family members described their gut-wrenching grief at his sentencing. They spoke of preschool and prom and all the other milestones that poor baby Maddox will never be able to do and have been denied. Morgan Lawrence told the court that she suffered from depression and anxiety after her baby was murdered. She said that her daughter's death made her a bereaved mother, robbing her of her home, her job, and people she considered to be part of her family. But by living her life, her daughter will be remembered, and she vows to make sure that her daughter is remembered. She says, I want to be myself again, just to be Morgan. I don't want to be identified by Ryan's horrible actions, and I don't want Maddox's life to be known by her death. I want her to be known for who she was, and I want to be known for the loving mom and wife that I truly was. This is about my baby. Judge Anthony Aioli told the court, Mr. Lawrence had kidnapped his daughter and taken her to a remote, secluded location where he struck her in the head with a baseball bat and killed her. He then placed her body and the baseball bat in a prepared fire pit for hours and took her charred remains back to Onondaga in a container where he disposed of them in the creek. That is unfathomable. A parole board will not consider his release until he is 49 years old. At the time of this murder, he was, I believe, 25. My personal opinion is he should not be released at all. It seems to me like certain people just don't deserve to have kids. And the fact that this baby was fighting cancer, and even though she was going through the treatment and all those other things, she still remained to be a beautiful, vibrant baby that was trying to live, that her mother was trying to make sure that she did whatever she needed to do by creating that GoFundMe to make sure that she could be present and be there for her baby. And then you have this monster of a father, this person that's supposed to be her protector, to dispose of her, because that's what he did, in the manner that he did is just heartbreaking. You guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Until next time.